Hi everybody, it's Leela from Miss Kiss Creations. Today I'm wanting to show you how to make this Mermaid peekaboo tumbler. If you do like my video today, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more videos and tutorials on how to make certain techniques for tumblers and crafts, please be sure to click the subscribe button. And let's go ahead and get started on this. I went ahead and I glittered and epoxied my tumbler, and the way that I did that is I do the Mod Podge method. So I went ahead and I applied Mod Podge to the tumbler, I applied my glitter, and then I let that dry for about 45 minutes, and then I Mod Podge over the glitter that I've already applied, and then I apply a second coat of glitter. Once I apply the second coat of glitter, I then spray it with the kryolan crystal clear acrylic sealer. This is very, very important whenever you're doing glitter tumblers. So I spray this with about 2 coats, and I let this sit on the tumbler for about 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes I let it sit longer if I have another cup, but this step is very important whenever you're doing glitter. This keeps the glitter on the tumbler when you go to epoxy. So once I let it sit with the kryolan crystal clear acrylic sealer, I let it sit, and then I went ahead and I epoxied over it. This is the epoxy brand that I use. It's Amazing Clear Cast. You can buy this at Amazon or any other stores. And the glitter that I use today on this tumbler is called Blue Lagoon Hollow by Posh Glitter. I don't know if you can see that, but it's Blue Lagoon Hollow by Posh Glitter. That's P-O-S-H. So after I applied my epoxy on the tumbler, it is also very important to let your tumbler sit for at least 24 hours until you go to the next step. Because if you do apply, when I go to apply the Mermaid scales, I have to peel them up. If you don't let your tumbler completely dry and cure, it's going to rip up the epoxy. So make sure after this step, this has been sat for at least 24 hours. It is very, very important, or all of your hard work will go to waste. What I'm doing now is I found mermaid scales and a mermaid tail that I liked on Google, and I went ahead and I shaped the tails the way I wanted them. I made 3 different sizes, and I measured the cup around, and I just measured to fit on the size tumbler that I'm doing. Same with the mermaid scales. And I'm going ahead and I'm cutting them out right now on my Cricut. I am using 631 vinyl or temporary vinyl. When you do this tumbler, do not use 651 or permanent vinyl. Try to use the temporary. So I went ahead and I weeded my vinyl like I typically do. And I kept a scale right here, if you see. I kept a scale from one of the mermaids. And you'll see what I do with that here in a bit. So all of my scales and mermaid tails are weeded, and I also placed the transfer paper on here, the transfer tape. So I'm going to go ahead and cut each design out. And then I'm going to start placing it on the tumbler. And you can place it anywhere you like on the tumbler. So I'm going to get my first mermaid tail. And the effect that I'm trying to get is that the tail starts from the bottom. So I'm just going to place the tail just like as you would apply a regular decal. And you can make it any way you like. You can make the tails go any whichever way. So the reason for this is where you place your mermaid tail, that's where there won't be any alcohol ink on here. Okay? So keep that in mind. So where I place my my scale, that's where the glitter is going to pop through. It's going to peekaboo through. So I like to just place them up and down on the tumbler. Kind of spread them apart. And you don't have to worry about this being completely flat, these tails, because if it's a little like if it's a little bumpy, then it's fine, because you're gonna end up peeling this off at the end. So don't worry about how this exactly lays. Just make sure it is completely on the tumbler, because if it's sticking up a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint over this. If your decal is sticking up, then you might get spray paint or acrylic paint underneath the tail, and you don't want that. You want it to have a very smooth line when it comes to the mermaid tails and the scales. So I'm just placing the tail, like I said, all over the tumblers. And I don't know if y'all know, but I reuse my transfer tape. Just make sure you don't stick it to a wooden surface. Make sure you stick it to a plastic surface. I reuse my transfer tape 2 or 3 times. So I placed one tail on there. And I'm going to place this one probably right here. And you can cut out as many tails as you like. You can make this your own. This is just what I like doing. You can put 10 tails on here if you like. You can put one big tail. I like doing the small tails just halfway up the tumbler. And today I'm using a 16-ounce tumbler. So there's my tails. There, oops. Let me peel this one off, and then let me show you how I place my scales on here. It doesn't matter if this goes over the tumbler like this, like I was saying. It doesn't matter if that's popping out, because like I said, the decal's gonna come off anyways. And the scale that I used, the one that I saved, I placed this one on the bottom of my tumbler. So I place it right there. So don't forget to spray paint your tumbler on the bottom, because I like a little peekaboo on the bottom there. So I'm gonna take my other scales that I cut out, and I kind of just make a triangle shape, actually any shape that you like. And I just kind of cut it out any way, because it's a mermaid scale, so I'm just doing like parts of the mermaid. I'm not wanting the whole scale. So the way that I started doing this would help me was to look at the shape on the fin, and then I just cut out that. It's kind of, it's like a triangle with a not so pointy tip. So, I mean, you can do a triangle, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You can do any shape. I mean, really any shape is fine. It's your tumbler, it's your design. Whichever way you wanna place the decals is up to you. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place these randomly on the tumbler. And like I said, you can do it any which way you want. And you don't even have to do this, but I like doing this just to fill in some blanks of the tumbler. I know I had a customer, they wanted their name on the tumbler, so I left this part out, and to fill in the blanks I just added their name. So, but I think it's cute because you glitter the entire tumbler and then you have to hide it all up. You have to hide it all up. You have to hide it when you spray paint it. You hide all the glitter. So I like getting the full peekaboo effect on these tumblers. So I think it's cute. I hate glittering this entire tumbler and not having to see my whole glitter job. So like I said before in the video, please make sure that your tumbler has sat, your epoxy has sat and cured for at least 24 hours. It is very, very important, because once you go peel up, after you spray paint over, once you go peel up this tumbler or these decals, they might bring the epoxy with you. So, and all of that time and all of those materials have been wasted. So I know it's hard to wait. My first time doing these tumblers, even now, I just cannot stand waiting. The waiting process is the worst, but it's something you just have to do. What I usually do if I'm waiting, if it's like late at night and I'm just up crafting, I wait and then I just start doing another tumbler. And by the time I do like 2 or 3, I'm like, oh, what about that tumbler? So I advise just, if you can't wait, start doing another craft and the time will go by fast. Okay, so here's my temporary decals. This is 631 vinyl. It is not 651. And now I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint. I'm gonna skip this step on camera because I can't hold the camera and spray paint at the same time. The spray paint that I'm using today is a Rust-Oleum spray paint. I use any spray paint. It is white. Like I say, I use any, so you can use any type of spray paint. Just make sure it is a flat or matte white. This one's a matte white and this one's a flat white. So please make sure that it is a flat or matte. You can use gloss if you like, but it's easier to work with a flat or white spray paint. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint this and I'll be right back. So for this next step, we're gonna be using alcohol ink. So make sure you do use gloves. I strongly advise that you use gloves because alcohol ink does stain your hands. And if you like, you can place a piece of paper or some kind of protectant material down to protect your surface. So I'm using alcohol ink and I'm using Tim Holtz. And this color is Purple Twilight. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm using Sailboat Blue and Mermaid. I'm also using makeup wedges, and I purchased these from CVS. You can get them anywhere. And what I do is I reuse my makeup wedges, and I actually cut them down so I can get more out of them. So here's like one of them, and I'll cut them down into like thirds or something, just depending on what I'm doing. And like I said, I do reuse them. So make sure your tumbler is all the way dried with the spray paint. I let this sit for about 15-20 minutes. Depends on how much you spray on the tumbler. It depends on that. That's what depends on how long you have to wait and before it dries. What I do is I stick it on my turner and I turn my turner on and it dries that way. So this is the fun part. I'm gonna go ahead and open these alcohol inks. And what you're gonna do is I want a watery effect, and I also like doing this with just blue and the Sailboat Blue and the Mermaid. But I want the full mermaid effect, and there's typically always purple and mermaid whenever you see the design. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna place the alcohol ink, you're gonna dab, squirt some on the makeup wedge, and you're gonna take your tumbler and you're just gonna blot your tumbler all the way around. And you're gonna randomly blot your tumbler. And don't forget the bottom, because like I said, I put that small mermaid, part of the mermaid tail on the bottom to peek through. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and blot the tumbler with all different colors. And it's gonna be the Sailboat Blue, the Mermaid, and the Twilight Purple. And don't freak out if you think there's too much on here or if they blend. Don't freak out because it will look cute in the end. So don't overthink this part. Don't try to place them in certain spots or anywhere. I'm literally just randomly blotting this. Like I said, I don't know if I mentioned, but my alcohol ink, it is Tim Holtz. I did get it from Michael's. I did catch a sale when it was buy one get one half off, and I bought the 3-packs. And I like whenever they have that sale, because I buy 3 or 4 packs of those 3-packs, and it lasts me for a bit. So like I said, just make sure you get the bottom. I'm trying to get everything in the camera and still be able to see what I'm doing. And then you can add, if you want more purple, you can add more purple, or if you want more mermaid color, you can add more mermaid. It's all your decision, and it's all up to you. But your goal, my goal, it could be different for yours, but the design that I personally like is whenever I cover up all of the white. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to cover up all the white on the tumbler. So you can still see some white here. So that's all I'm trying to do now is just fill in some space, fill in the blanks here. And like I said, don't forget the bottom. And the good thing about this is if you see in the bottom of this tumbler there's too much like the mermaid color, you can go ahead and just add some purple on top of that, and it doesn't really make it look bad. So I dab some purple on top of that, and then you see the purple on top of the mermaid color. So once you're done filling in the blanks, I'm almost finished filling in the white area, I'll let you know what we do on the next step. Okay, so the white area looks like it is about gone. I'm just getting the last spots here. My 91% alcohol, and I put it in a spray bottle, and I go ahead and I just spray the tumbler with my alcohol, and it gives it that underwater effect. So you see what it did there? It made it look like water. And I just go around randomly on the tumbler, and I spray the whole entire tumbler, and that's what gives it the underwater ocean effect. And I really like how that look is. And then like I said, don't forget the bottom. And if you can see that you could still see like the dots of the purple. So what you can do with this is you can just blot it more, and once you blot it, it'll blend more. So the good thing about this is you can't really mess it up. I mean, there's preferences how you like to do it, but you can't really mess up this design. And even if you do mess this up, I can go ahead and take my makeup wedge and just blot over the water, like if you don't like that part or something. Or if you want more water effect, just go ahead. Guess I'm about 6 inches above the tumbler. You go ahead and spray. If you want a bigger water effect, you get closer. So it just all depends on what you prefer. So when I'm done spraying this, so whenever I'm finished spraying this, this is what it's gonna look like. Sorry, I'm just getting the last little bits. Okay. You don't want it too close to the tumbler, because then it doesn't give that mist effect. You want it to mist on the tumbler. You don't want it to pour it on the tumbler. Like I said, if there's some parts you don't like, you can reblot it like that and just respray it. Or I could have added more alcohol into there and then resprayed it. There you go. So this tumbler is very hard to mess up. So once I'm finished designing the tumbler the way that I like, this is the fun part. Every part is a fun part, right? This is when you peel up the decals. So let me go ahead and get this out the way. I just don't want to knock them down. So this is when you go ahead and peel up the decals. So my theory of using yellow decals, typically, I mean, it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, but if you can tell, you don't see any yellow. A lot of people, what they do is they curl up transfer tape and they place it on the decal, and so the transfer tape sticks up, and they stick it on the decal so they can easily tell where the decals are. But I can tell where most of these decals are, so we won't have that much of an issue. So let's start peeling up these decals. And I don't know if you can see that. There's the yellow. Let me take off my gloves. Obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and start peeling, and I just stick it to my paper or my surface that I have. Sorry y'all, I'm trying to get this on camera. And if you can't get the decal up with your finger, just go ahead and use your weeding tool and just kind of hook it, and then you'll be able to peel it up. That is so cute. I've always loved that color combination, the mermaid color. I love the teal hollow glitter with the purples and the blues. It's just really pretty. So try not to poke your tumbler too hard, because you don't want to poke through, which it's very hard to, but you don't want to poke through the epoxy. And you also don't want to scrape the excuse me, you also don't want to scrape the alcohol ink off. So you see how I'm just stabbing, just like as you would do a typical decal whenever you weed it off the paper. Oops, I just stabbed that. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this, and I will return. So another good way, before I turn off the camera, another good way is to feel it with your finger. So you can see there's a decal there, and it peels right up. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this, and I'll turn off the camera, and I will be back. So I have weeded all of the decals off of my tumbler, and now you can see the peekaboo effect. So once I've done this step, I'm going to go ahead and take my Kryolan crystal clear acrylic sealer and go ahead and spray the tumbler. Once I finish spraying this tumbler with the crystal clear acrylic sealer, I'm going to wait about 20 minutes, and then I'll go ahead and apply the epoxy. And you're going to apply the epoxy the way you normally would any tumbler that you do. And then at the end, I'll show you the finished result. This is the tumbler completely finished on the turner. I did apply epoxy to this. I think I applied a little under 2 tablespoons. And you can see that whenever you apply the epoxy, the glitter in the design really pops. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions for me, please go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll go ahead and answer all the questions you have. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.